what exactly is APAPA? So APAPA, or Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs, is a nonprofit organization with 40 chapters across the US, with more developing every year. Founded in 2001, APAPA aims to empower the Asian American community, which is one of the fastest growing populations in the US, but also one of the most underrepresented groups in government. So we are the Columbus Youth Chapter, and our officers are from the Dublin area, Olentangy, and Hilliard. Our goal is to promote civic engagement amongst youth, and we do this through organizing community events and discussions. Some events of the things we do are voter registration booths, meeting with community leaders, officials, and politicians. Last year, we raised awareness about anti-Asian hate in our Unity Against Hate rallies in Olentangy and Dublin. We also had a Juneteenth community event, and we also made a video this year to inform our community about the candidates and issues on the ballot for the 2021 November special election. We also do a college panel every year, so this is what we're having this year. Be sure to reach out and do the internship program if you can, and Hong is going to talk about that a little later. We're going to go over Zoom procedures right now. So please enter all your questions in the Q&A feature. We will have a 15-minute Q&A session from the audience at the very end. And if you look over there at the image, you'll see how to upvote questions. So if you have a question that you see someone ask that you really like and would like to see answered today, you can click that thumbs up in that corner and you'll be able to upvote it, and the moderators will be able to take that and ask the question. That is everything for Zoom procedures. Hong, do you want to talk a little bit about the internship program?
Thank you, Hong. Thank you all so much. First of all, I just want to say hi. My name is Jane. I'm from the Air Writing Center. We are so excited to be sponsoring this event. I mean, Ohio is, first of all, APAPA, I am so behind the mission. Now, I have to admit, I'm actually in the Albany chapter, but I've gotten to know the Ohio chapter so well, and I love the fact that all of you are doing civic engagement. I actually did a bunch of volunteer work, and I actually interned in Mayor Bloomberg's office way back when I was in high school, when I was your age. So I'm really happy that all of you guys are on board here. Now, I'm going to play a very quick video introducing the Air Writing Center. My colleague Joanna is also here. So hi Joanna. And let's just really hope like technology is on my side tonight. So let's get going. Share sound. I got this. All right, Joanna, is it coming across? Wonderful. All right.
Okay, I got this. All right. I grew up in New York City, but when I came to Harvard in the fall of 2008, I knew I wanted to be a history major. Now, it didn't matter. You could also be an astrophysics major, but there was one mandatory class for all freshmen, and that was a writing requirement called expos. And there's a reason for that. It's because writing is a reflection of how you think. It's about thinking clearly and logically in order to communicate effectively. After graduation, I actually went off to Wall Street for 10 years, and it was during that decade that I would volunteer with students and help them on their writing. I've been teaching and editing for a very long time now, and what I've realized is that there are certain patterns in my students' writing that mirrored the development of my own. And so I created my own curriculum material. We have a step-by-step method to take the guesswork out of writing clearly. We are so lucky that our mission has resonated with families across the country. In just 2 years, we've had nearly 900 enrollments from 35 states, and we're forming partnerships with schools across the country. We have a publication that's actually entirely written by our community, and we are also introducing an editing service for your independent work. I know how difficult those initial stages can be, so give me permission to help you, guide you on your journey, and help you realize your potential to channel your thoughts onto the page. And now I give you permission to tell me your story. Thanks for watching.
that is a little bit about us. And if anybody has any questions at all, nope, hang on. One second. Hi. All right. So thank you all so much for watching. And I am going to be dropping the link to the demo day in the chat if anybody is interested. Yep. All right, I just sent it to everybody. We are also, please stay tuned, especially for high school students. We're actually rolling out an editing service for any academic essays, creative writing pieces, for writing contests, applications, anything. We're happy to take a look at it. And that's going to come out at the end of the month. But if you also want to improve your writing and take classes with us, enrollment's open now and classes start on February 5th. So thank you all so much. I'm going to turn it back over to you. But once again, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Jane was actually, the ERA Writing Center was the one who made our awesome flyer for us. So thank you again. Now we're going to turn it over to our panelists for introductions. So Grace, do you want to kick us off?
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Wong, and I was actually president of APAPA in the year of 2020 to 2022. I am a freshman at Georgia Tech, and my major is computer science. I went to Olentangy Orange High School, and my favorite part of university is the people here.
Awesome. Sam, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Sam Dang. I'm a freshman at Northwestern. I'm a double major in psych and neuroscience. I went to Olentangy Liberty High School. My favorite part of college is the weekends.
All right, and Samuel Lee, do you want to go next?
Yeah. What's up, guys? My name is Sam Lee. I'm a freshman at Rice University. I also went to Orange High School. Right now, I'm majoring in political science with a minor in politics, law, and social thought. Might double in history, I'm not sure yet. Now, I gotta say my favorite part of college is probably just getting coffee with friends.
Yeah, Amen.
My name's Eamon Hurley. I also went to Olentangy Orange High School. Currently, I'm going to the University of Texas at Dallas. And I'd have to say my favorite part of college is being able to have more freedom over what I learn. I don't always have to learn things that are really irrelevant, like history. Sorry, Sam.
All right, and finally, Nikhil.
Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil. I am a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm majoring in PPE, which is philosophy, politics, and economics. And I went to Dublin Jerome High School. My favorite part of college, not to be redundant, but it's probably the people. Just meeting diverse viewpoints and people who are really driven, has been really eye-opening.
All right, so that's all of our panelists. And now I'm going to hand it over to B to start us off with our questions.
All right, thank you panelists for all your introductions. It's really great to have you here. First off, let me introduce myself. My name is Abi Boda, and I am the current secretary of the APAPA Youth Columbus chapter. And our very first question for you guys is, if you could go back in time knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently in high school? Are there any skills that you would have honed in on or any opportunities that you would have pursued?
So for me, I know that maybe not all the parents want to hear this, but I think socializing and going out more would have helped me a lot more. I wish that I could have developed more social skills in high school, and that also contributes to me learning more soft skills. And because everyone, you might be smart in middle school or high school where you are right now, but once you get to college, you realize that everyone's smart. And what makes you stand out is how you interact with other people. So if I were in middle school or high school right now, the things I'll be doing is trying to learn, develop my soft skills, such as presentations, convincing people, and making friends with strangers. I would also shape my extracurricular so it matches a narrative, and then I can present that to colleges better, fitting my major and my extracurriculars so that it demonstrates something that I would want to do in my future.
All right, so any of the other panelists, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'd probably say if I could go back, I think, well, at least I can tell you guys now, I think people don't really emphasize how important like essays are when you're applying to college until like your senior year. And by then, like you're kind of like scrambling to like think about what to write. Because like when you think about it, like from a admissions counselor standpoint, you know, you're looking at a bunch of kids who all have, you know, similar scores and, you know, a lot of good extracurriculars, kind of like, it's kind of like what Grace said, you know, once you get to college, a lot of people are smart. And so it's like what makes you stand out? And that's kind of what they're looking for. You know, admissions counselors tend to spend like 5 minutes max on your essay. So I think like it's not a bad idea. It's pretty helpful to start thinking about, you know, what makes you unique, starting from, you know, as early as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Nikhil, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. I think those are all good things to mention. I guess one more thing I'd add is in terms of like classes, like at least for me in high school, I could get away with like skimming material or just like not actually understanding stuff and still do like relatively well in the class. But I think it's just a good skill to develop. To like go the extra step when you're learning the material, go beyond the content. I think that'll help you a lot in terms of like just random opportunities that might come up. Like learning like random things, like now like I'm, you know, maybe interested in like computer science, which is something in high school that I wasn't really interested in. I took a couple classes, I didn't learn too much. But just like trying to understand the material as much as you can in different contexts, even if you don't think it'll be helpful for admissions, can be helpful like later on.
Those are all really important points, and I think are really helpful to all of our students here right now. Sam, do you have anything to add?
You're talking to me, Sam?
Yeah, sorry.
I would
you should
say-
probably clarify.
Honestly, don't take it too serious in high school, because if you are here, you're already taking the steps to put yourself in a successful place. So I wouldn't be hell-bent on taking so many APs, but take a manageable course load. Do either find something that you like and focus on it, or try to get a lot of opportunities everywhere, because colleges like to see that. And I would say when you're actually applying, try to be unique and don't pack your essay with anecdotes of how smart you are or how great you are, or don't talk about what you've accomplished. Just tell a story that's interesting and will set you apart from other people, and you will be successful and you will inevitably get into a school that you would like to go to.
Yeah, and Eamon, do you have anything else you'd like to add to close this up?
Yeah, I think Sam really hit it on the nail there. I think a lot of people kind of see high school now as a means to an end, and you know, they just think about like that constant grind to get into the college they want. But I think it's kind of important nowadays to just kind of slow it down and like focus on finding some extracurriculars that you like genuinely enjoy. Don't worry about padding your resume or what's going to look good on a college application. Really try to find something that you like doing and that's like intellectually stimulating. I mean, everyone likes playing video games, but you can't really put that on a college application. So like try to find something intellectually stimulating that like you're actually interested in, and that'll look really good.
Thank you all for your answers about preparation. Now we have a question about college. What inspired you to choose your major, and how has college helped you shape your future? So my major was computer science. And the reason why I chose computer science was because in middle school and high school, I was always pretty good at math, and it was something I was interested in. And another thing is that it's a very dynamic and rapidly growing field. For me, that means that it can be involved in a lot of different fields in the career, such as medical, business, philanthropy, things like that. I was considering doing business, but my mom told me that it's easier to switch from computer science to business than it is for business to computer science. So that's the reason why I decided to do computer science. One thing that I think my college really helps in terms of giving me more opportunities is that we have daily and weekly newsletters that we get in our email, full of like opportunities, clubs, events, and things like that. It's gonna be like fairs, career fairs, and you will also get emails based off your specific college. For example, mine is College of Computing. So I have got to talk to a lot of different employers. Another thing is I have an intern for this coming summer at Northrop Grumman, and I'm 100% sure that I wouldn't have gotten this intern without the prestige of the college that I go to.
Yeah, those are all really great points, Samuel.
Yeah. I mean, I've always just been really interested in like history. I mean, clearly I have different views from Eamon, but like, history, like different cultures. Like, not gonna lie, like I am political science, but I'm focused on like international relations, and like that whole thing started back in like 2010 when I watched the World Cup. I saw like a bunch of different like country flags and people. So I was just like, ever since then, I found that kind of stuff like intriguing. And so yeah, that's kind of how I developed my interest in like political science. And I guess I picked that as my major because it like overlaps a bunch of my interests, whether it's like different cultures, languages, geography, history, and then like obviously the political side of it as well. As for how college shapes my future and how it's like helped me with that major, I mean, like once you go to university, you just realize like how many like different like school sponsored like events, clubs, and like resources there are, and like it's like to the point where it's like really overwhelming at points. But like I think that just goes to show you how much like things and like how many things there are to like support you in whatever major you decide to do, because there's always going to be like a couple of like, or like even at times like hundreds of like resources to help you. There's like resource advisors, PAAs, and so yeah, I don't think you guys have to stress about anything. Like once you're in college, you're just gonna go everywhere you look, you're gonna have resources to help you with that major.
Yeah, Sam, Dunn, do you have anything to add?
Sure. I'm gonna be fully honest here. I'm a neuroscience major because my dad told me to. Because he thought I was like, oh, I might go like bio or something, psych, something like that. And he was like, no, you're doing neuroscience. I was like, whatever you say, boss. And I took it, and then I threw on psych because I felt we take a lot of classes here in Northwestern, on the quarter system. It's arbitrary, it doesn't really matter. But I thought it would be I would learn a lot about myself. So I took these psych classes. And in terms of opportunities, I'm currently working in a lab right now, a neuroscience lab focused on Alzheimer's research, specifically amyloid beta oligomer, like assembly and trying to get rid of that. So I'm doing research with them, and I'm currently applying for a grant just to continue this research into the summer, which is great. And I think you should definitely be on the lookout for nice opportunities and just do your best.
Eamon, do you have anything you'd like to say about that?
Yeah. Well, currently going into college, I was an electrical engineering major because I had strong interest in math, physics, and just kind of like building and creating things sounded really cool to me. But now I'm a computer science major, and part of that change was facilitated by my college because first off, I just saw how many more opportunities we had here for computer science students. It's just such a large field, and it's growing so much more rapidly than electrical engineering. I think it's like 9% versus 22% according to like the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And I also had to take a computer science course here in my first semester, and that was probably my most enjoyable course. And so that's kind of what helped me realize that my interests were actually not in the electrical engineering side of things, but it was more strongly oriented towards the computer science side of things.
And then finally, Nikhil.
Yeah, so I'm a PPE major. I guess in high school I was pretty interested in like politics. I did the government internship program with APAPA. And so PPE I think was a good mix of that because it got like the theoretical and like practical political viewpoints, but it also combined that with like economics and related fields, which was valuable for me because I'm thinking of going to law school too. And in terms of how college has helped shape my future, I think I've gotten an appreciation for like the distinct ways that sort of this knowledge of political science can be applied. We often think of like staffing or like working on the Hill, like politics, something like that. But sort of combining that with like different fields when it comes to like public affairs, consulting, like data analysis, research. I've, like heard a lot about opportunities, whether it's like speakers, classes, clubs. All of those has been really eye-opening and sort of seeing what sort of like opportunities I didn't know about existed in that field.
Okay, so those were all very extremely good responses. So now that we know like which majors we can go to, I want to talk about the mental health and the stress of college. So like, how do you handle the stress and how do you maintain a healthy sleep schedule and a daily routine? Do you want to start with Grace?
Yeah, I'm down to start. For me, it was very important to have a really strong group of friends who has the same goals and ambitions as you do. They sort of pressure you to have a good sleep schedule and take care of yourself. For example, if they're all going to bed at 11 p.m., you'll probably be in bed at 11 p.m. too. Or if they're all going to the library to study for 5 hours, you're probably going to join them. Along with that is just having a strong community here. For example, being able to like see these people in your dorm or your roommate every single day and knowing that you have someone to rely on is very important for your mental health and being able to open up and talk to them. I will say I'm still figuring it out. So I've only been here a couple months and I'm still dealing with a lot of stress. The classes here are really hard and I'm still trying to deal with that. Make sure you go to your classes, even though it's so very easy to not want to wake up for an 8 a.m. or something like that, but you have to make up for it later and it's a lot more work. I enjoy going to the gym. I think that relieves a lot of stress. And also you can reach out to your school's mental health center and psychiatric center. They usually have a lot of resources for that. And they're usually free too, because it was usually covered in a student health insurance. So always realize that that's an option too. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to throw this question next to Eamon. Do you have anything you'd like to add about like how to handle stress in school?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, like Grace was saying, it's important to stay on top of all of your classes because when exam time comes, you got to learn that material sometimes. So it's easier to do that in chunks ahead of time than cramming it all in one night. Can't say I've exercised that advice, but it's good advice. I'd say going to the gym is important too. That really helps with me personally, keeping my routine. And also just finding people here who can help you. And, just finding a good network of friends is a big help.
Sam, do you want to jump into?
Sure. I think it's important to analyze the way you think about things. And I would advise you guys to think of things in two different ways, one of which is subjectively and objectively. So objectively, hear me out. You could be doing bad in the class. You get a 70 on a midterm, happened to me. But if you look around and everybody else is confused, you're in the right spot because everybody else at whatever university you guys choose to go to, they're all going to be smart. And I would say no matter where you are, you deserve to be there. So always keep that in mind. And stress, I would say definitely find good friends, learn to open up, talk about your feelings. Keeping it bottled up isn't great. Gym for sure is a great place to go. Got to stay ginormous and shredded. And I actually, during the week, I take melatonin. So I take it at 9 and I'm out before 11. And then I think I wake up in the mornings at 8 and I try to do it consistently and get into a good routine. And getting into a routine is, I think, one of the best things you can do here at any university. So yeah.
Samuel, do you have anything you'd like to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like sit up here and lie. Like I've been sleeping at like 3 or 4 every day. I mean, like you're like faculty professors are always like, yeah, try to get 8 hours of sleep, and then like on the first day of semester they'll assign you like 200 pages of reading. Like, yeah, for sure, bro. But yeah, I mean, sometimes let's just go day by day. Some days you're gonna have to sleep at like 3 or 4 studying. Whether that's because of your own bad time management, which I've definitely done and has contributed to my bad sleep schedule. But sometimes, it is because like you do have a lot of work, whether it's for like undergraduate research or like actual classwork. And so I would say, yeah, I mean, obviously try to get sleep whenever you can, and like don't like, just force yourself to be awake. But I mean, I think it's pretty common once you go to like a university, you'll find a lot of people anywhere staying up kind of late on certain days, whether you have an exam the next day or something. So yeah, I mean, don't feel, you don't have to stress like if you're staying up till like late in the morning, because everyone's gonna have those days. But handling stress, I would say, yeah, like everyone else has said, just try to find some cool friends, walk around. I mean, Rice specifically, we are in the middle of Midtown Houston, not too far from downtown. We have like a arts and museums district right outside campus. We also have like a Rice Village, kind of like short north if you've been there. So on the weekends, just have fun. Obviously, don't get too carried away. I mean, it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to get carried away once and learn, but yeah, just have some fun on the weekends whenever you can.
And to close us off, Nikhil.
Yeah, I think those are all good points. Exercise is important. Getting enough sleep is important. I think the only thing I would add is I think the biggest problem for me is procrastination. Like if I have an assignment that's due in like a couple of weeks, or even if it's due the next day, I'll literally wait till the last possible minute to do it. So I think that's just a healthy habit you should try to like avoid developing, or it's not a healthy habit, so you should try to avoid developing it. And as for handling the stress, yeah, having a good friend group is really important. Taking like self-care is important as well. Like if you're super stressed about something, it's okay to like relax. You don't need to be studying all the time, but you just do need to get stuff done. So like you need to be responsible for yourself and know like how do you work, like what works best for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, that all of you guys are in college now, and you've talked a little bit about setting a routine and getting good friends, but how do you deal with stress how would you recommend dealing with stress as a high schooler? Like, what would you say, especially for our juniors and seniors right now? And we'll mix up the order a little bit and kick it off with Eamon.
That's a good question. I don't really know. Exercise helps even on a chemical level, get those endorphins going. Yeah, I mean, wow, high school just feels like really long ago right now. So that's kind of hard for me to answer. So I'm gonna have to defer.
All right, we'll throw it to Samuel then.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as Eamon. I remember junior, senior year, people like, yeah, don't even stress, bro. But I was stressing heavy. I'm not gonna lie. I was really stressing. I guess, I mean, I did work a part-time job at Starbucks. I think that, just having your mind taken away somewhere else for a few hours, whether it's a job, exercising, doing sports, playing an instrument, even listening to music. I think that's one of the most like underrated levels of, or underrated ways of, just handling stress. Yeah, just find a little time in a day to do something. Take a nap, go sleep, do something, man. Yeah.
All right, and Nikhil, you talked a little bit about procrastination, how would you recommend like setting up those good study habits early on and trying to fight procrastination?
Yeah, I mean, you and me would both like to know, honestly. I guess, for me personally, like the biggest stress for me is just like knowing, like I procrastinate, but eventually I'll get things done. If I like sit down to do something, I'll make sure like all distractions, that I could possibly have are like eliminated. I think telling people, like telling your friends, like, oh, I have a lot of stuff to do, and them like helping, you stay on track with that, is really helpful. Um, yeah, I think the biggest thing is you just have to like know yourself and know how long does it take for me to get something done. And usually you'll underestimate that, but if you can like get started early, honestly, like as soon as you have an assignment, as soon as you have free time, like don't, like it's easy to say just like don't think about other things, but that's really like the only way to avoid it, right? Like just do what you need to do, as soon as possible. I don't think there are any like major like hacks or anything you can do to avoid procrastination. But just like being really responsible, being really, on top of it is like the best way.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, do you have any input on like any study tips high schoolers should be learning right now?
Study tips. I mean, I didn't study much in high school, so but here I would say I'm not quite sure what happened, but I stepped on campus. I think I walked into a library and got scared shitless, and then got scared into a pretty good student. So I actually do prepare on the weekends. If you're an extremist, one might say you could become an iPad kid, for sure. But over like stress generally, I would say something I didn't learn until pretty late in high school was I think it's important to compartmentalize the parts of your life. So I like the major things in my life right now are like school, friends, and then like my mental health. So I would say like I'm gonna be honest, I got broken up with earlier this year during the first quarter, but I realized that doesn't have any effect on my mental capabilities to learn or like do work in a lab or be a great friend. So I would venture to say that you shouldn't let events in different parts of your lives change the way you act in a completely non-adjacent way. So if that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice for everyone to take on. And then finally, Grace, do you want to close the question off?
I would just say to like make sure you have a community with the friends who are also struggling with you. For example, group me's with your classmates. Is something that we still do in college. Don't be afraid to ask questions and reach out for help. I like avoided that for the first, I don't know, 3 years of high school, and then I finally got some help, and it was very helpful for me and for my family and my mental health. So, and I still pursue that now at college. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Everyone needs it from time to time, even the strongest people. And yeah, that's it for me.
All right, so now that we've talked about the aspects of college dealing with personal responsibility, we can switch to gears to Asian identity. So in college, it's I guess it's common that we go around, that people go to college to discover themselves, just like what they want to do and like who they are. So how has your perspective of your Asian identity changed as you've gone onto college? And I guess Sam, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I think in high school, nothing has really changed for me Asian identity wise. I think I had a good time or decent time in high school because I was talking to tons of groups of people. I was able to, I was an officer here at APAPA. Don't ask me about what we did, but so I was able to talk to those people. I was with orchestra kids, I was with track kids, soccer kids. So I was always around a lot of different people. And I think it's good to learn from tons of different people. And here, I would honestly say that pretty much most schools most schools academic wise, you can get the same education pretty much anywhere. I came to Northwestern thinking, oh, like I'm not going to have any bad professors. Like, no, you're going to have bad professors everywhere. And the course material is almost the same, but what's different is the people that are here. So you should go and try to interact with faculty. You should go and try to interact with different kinds of people from different places. And the thing that sets apart these top schools that you guys are probably all wanting to apply to is some funny way, college admissions is the worst thing and the best thing, because there's so many similarities with all my friends, but like our underlying values are all the same, but the little intricacies that makes us all different are all different. And we can all learn from each other and we can all become better people. And I think that's really why it's worth going to one of these top schools. And you should make the most of it while you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to throw the question to Nikhil next.
Yeah, just the question was on like how has my perspective on Asian identity changed? Yeah. Yeah, so kind of going off of that, I think I've viewed Asians as less of a monolith after coming to Penn and meeting like different types of Asians. Like we think Asians, you'll often think like I think honestly the crazy thing to me is like when you apply to college and you mark down like Asian, like how broad of a category that is, because there's Southeast Asian, there's East Asian, there's like Indian, but then even within those there are like so many different types of Asians. And I think finding I'm involved in some of like the Asian American communities on campus, and like finding my place in that is definitely it like begs the question like what part of being Asian like actually makes you Asian, like what connects you with these other people, and struggling to find something like that out has been really valuable. But it's also been good because I've been able to like interact with different types of Asians and sort of see like how like my story fits into theirs. And a lot of the times, at least from my experiences, I realized that a lot of it is just like values, similar like upbringings that we have compared to like, you know, people who like maybe have been in America for a couple of generations. But I think my identity has shifted from more than just like where you're from, like just instead of like a narrow like where you're from that encapsulates like all these different people from Asia. It shifted more into I'd say like a figurative sense, like what sort of values you have, what your perspectives are on like community, relationships, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, so you talked a little bit about like joining Asian American groups on campus. Grace, do you have anything you'd like to add about that?
Yeah, this was the only club, Asian Pacific club I did in high school, but now in college I am in several Asian clubs, or at least I participate in some of their events. For example, I'm not Vietnamese, but there's this Vietnamese club that a lot of Asians tend to go to and have a lot of events. I go to that club. There's an Asian American club I go to. There's a Chinese club I go to. It's just fun to attend some of their events and get to know a lot of people. In high school, my school didn't have a lot of Asian kids, so I feel like I didn't make a lot of Asian friends unless it was in this club until I got to college. And it's really nice to be able to share Asian American perspectives growing up. A lot of us have very similar upbringing and values based off of that, and we can share our culture with each other. However, I would always recommend you branching out, and just because it's easier to make friends within your own culture doesn't mean you should stick within your own culture. You should try to pursue different people. College is a very diverse place, so try to attend a lot of different events and meet as many different people as you can.
All right, Samuel.
Yeah, I would actually say my experience with my Asian identity actually got better as I went to college. I mean, you know, back home, you know, it's Columbus, Ohio. I mean, like we all know what that's like. I mean, I always liked, you know, I mean, myself, I'm Korean American. I always like Korean food. I never hid it from anybody. It's just like, obviously, even amongst Asian Americans at Orange, there were not a lot of Korean kids. I think I had like one Korean friend. So like obviously you can't always like relate, and sometimes it's just like small things here and there, whether if you're like eating food like and other people don't know what it is, you kind of just have to explain yourself. But then I go to Rice, and it has a pretty big Korean American population and Asian population in general, whether they grew up in America like us, or they're from they're international students. But I found that at college a lot of people are way more open. Obviously I made a lot more Korean friends, and so it's just easier to relate to people. And kind of like what Nikhil said, it's also easier to branch out with other cultures as well. I mean, Houston specifically, we have a really big Chinatown, and like, oh geez, like before I got here, I paid like $3 for like the best mapo tofu I've ever had in my life. Like it was really fire. Like it was really good. I mean, yeah, it's just like people are way more open, and like, it's pretty cool to see like different cultures hanging out with each other. I mean, like before Thanksgiving break, we have like a kitchen in our dorm, and I was with some Mexican friends, and like we made like kimchi quesadilla, and we were like, oh hell yeah. Like it's just yeah, college is a pretty cool experience. No one really cares in college. People are like way less judgmental. You've got people from all over the place, all over the country, all over the world. So yeah, I would say I've had a pretty good time with my Asian identity. It's much easier to express yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and to finally close this off with this question, Amen.
Yeah, I gotta agree with everyone who came before. I'd say college is a lot more of a tolerant place than high school in Ohio was. I mean, my college is 40% Asian, so that's a pretty big change from Olentangy Orange High School, which was like 85% white. So it's definitely a different environment, but it's cool to be around a lot of people who have similar, yet who we share like a similar cultural background, but we all have different experiences within that cultural background. So it's just been a really neat experience to meet a lot of new people.
All right, so that was the end of our prepared questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat to all audience members. So I'll hand it over to Lynn to kick us off with audience questions.
Thanks, Arwen. So, panelists, you've all talked a bit about internships. How would you recommend someone find a good internship or choose the right internship?
I mean, I would definitely say it matters. I mean, me specifically, obviously I said I was in poli-sci and looking to go to law school. And so, I mean, APAPA was pretty much like the perfect opportunity as an internship because it's catered toward public affairs, and it catered towards what I was going to do in college. And obviously that helps in the college application process. So I would definitely say like, don't like force anything. Like these admissions officers, they all went through college. They're all like, a lot of them are young peoples. The people that interview you, you might get alumni that just graduated from college or even seniors at some point. So they can tell when you're like forcing certain extracurricular sometimes. So try to do something like, try to find an internship that like is catered towards what you want to pursue in college. Don't like do one thing here, another thing here. I mean, obviously you can have some diversity with what you do if you truly enjoy those things, but yeah, just don't force anything.
Yeah, Nikhil, do you have anything? I know you did the APAPA internship last year. So do you have any thoughts on internships?
Yeah, besides the APAPA, the only other really internship I've done is I researched at Ohio State my junior summer. I think it is very hard to get like a valuable high school internship because there aren't really a lot of like skills that employers would want. And like just hiring a high schooler in general is a little bit, it's just generally not something people will do. I think cold emailing like companies that you're interested in, fields that you're interested in can be a good way of like starting that search. I don't think though an internship like by no means is necessary. Like a lot of the people who you'll hear like get internships, like usually it's like some like odd connection, like your dad owns the business or something. So don't be super like worried about getting these internships. But if you can find something and it's like a valuable experience, you're not just doing like, regular, like you're not doing like office administrative work basically. Definitely try and do that. Email things that you're interested about. Honestly, use your network. See if like you know anyone, maybe like a friend, family friend, your parents, and just see like what you can get. Because oftentimes I think these will be really valuable and also a really unique thing. I think people have talked about like how important it is to be unique when you're applying, and that's something that again not a lot of high schoolers will have. So it can be really cool.
Also on like the topic of internships, like for some of you, I know you talked a little bit about how you ended up in your major, but what would you say to a high schooler who's applying to college and doesn't really know what they want to do in the future or major in right now? Sam, do you want to start?
Sure, it's a really good question actually, because when you do come here and you talk to a lot of people and you realize a lot of people have already like seemingly found out what they want to do. But if you would like would keep talking to them, they probably don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break it to them. But yeah, I would say don't worry about it. Undergraduate is great for now. And unless you're a CS major or a business major at a very, very good school, you're probably going to have to go to grad school or med school or law school or wherever your career takes you. And even applying there, your undergraduate major doesn't matter that much. But I would say, yeah, like definitely take the opportunities you can. This is a time for like exploring stuff and learning about yourself, which should always be near the top of your priorities, because I mean, there's no one that's going to be around you more than you. So you should definitely figure out like what makes you happy, what can sustain you long term, what career is actually feasible. Because I remember hearing about a lot of careers in high school, and I idealized them, and now I realize I really can't do it. But yeah, I don't get overwhelmed at all. And there are tons of resources here, tons of people to talk to. Professors get back to you pretty fast. So, and professors love if you talk to them about anything but the stuff you're learning about, they will be pleased. So yeah, definitely just don't be too worried.
All right, Eamon, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd say don't be afraid to apply as undecided on your application, because if you're forcing your major, admission counselors are really going to be able to tell that you're like forcing your interest in that major. So don't be afraid to be genuine and honest. Actually, being honest and genuine on your application is probably one of the most important things you can do. And also make sure you pick a college that gives you the freedom and flexibility to still have options in the future. You don't want to like pick like a super expensive college, even if it's like really good. If it's going to limit your options in the future, you're going to want to keep things open if you have like interest in like med school or getting like a PhD or something beyond that.
Finally, Grace.
For me, was to just keep on. I'm talking about this in terms of first year interns. If you don't get an intern your first year or even your second year, you don't have to worry about it because you still have years of opportunities ahead of you. I was very lucky to get one this year, and that's literally only because I applied to over 100 interns, and I heard back from maybe 5 or 7. I don't have a lot of experience in computer science. I have not done a lot of projects or anything, but I will just keep on trying until you get a position. The thing with computer science is that the interview process is different from other majors because they make you go through a technical assessment. So one thing you can do to prepare for that is to go on a website called LeetCode and try problems out there. Also, make sure you have an elevator pitch prepared. Elevator pitch is basically like a minute-long summary of you and what you've done and what you're looking for. Make sure you have a LinkedIn set up. Yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Okay. So I think one of our audience questions was, what is one thing you wish your parents would have done differently for you when you were in high school? So any panelists have any thoughts on that?
For me personally, I don't know if you know, I don't know if y'all know what this is, but I applied through Questbridge, which is like a scholarship for like lower income Christian students. So if you think that applies to you, I highly recommend that. But yeah, my dad has a lot of friends that, I mean, he found out through his friends, and he was always like, it's not like he was pressuring me. Actually, my parents were really chill. They did not care about how I did in school. I think it's part of it was because, I usually got it done on my own. They never really pressured me on anything. They always just wanted me to do what I wanted to do. But here and there, he would always say like, oh, so and so, like I don't know, his friend's like kid, got the Questbridge scholarship match to, I don't know, UVA, Northwestern, Vandy. And so like obviously during the college application process or like throughout junior year, senior year, it's like a very stressful thing to hear. So I mean, yeah, if your parents are like that, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You'll be fine. Just block out the noise, and don't be afraid to tell your parents either. At the end of the day, like they might be, yeah, just tell them, because they just want the best for you at the end of the day.
I wouldn't actually change anything of how my parents treated me in high school. My parents were always very adamant on making sure that my mental health and my social life was thriving, and that if I didn't do well on a test or whatever, they wouldn't punish me for that, because they would try to make sure my mental health was better than whatever academics I had. And I think that really helped me to this day, help make sure that I feel better. When I feel better, I can perform better academically. So they really push for that, and they still push for that today. Like I didn't get straight A's last semester, but they weren't worried at all. They didn't pressure me to do better. They said as long as I try my hardest and make sure I'm taking care of myself, that's what's important to them.
All right, we have another question from our audience, and it's open to all of you guys like usual. What specific things do you look for in a college, and how do you know if a college is the right fit for you?
All right, I'll talk about this. When looking at colleges, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't look very far. I didn't even know what a liberal arts college was until I dated a girl that went to a liberal arts college. But yeah, I was looking at these colleges, looking at US News as one does, and I vaguely remembered visiting with my sister because I was robbed of it because of obviously COVID. And I did make a list. I made a college spreadsheet, which is very helpful for those of you that are applying to colleges. I would advise to make a college spreadsheet. But I had a rough list. I had like the UCs, UCB, UCLA, Johns, Northwestern, and Vandy. And I got it down to Johns, Northwestern, Vandy because I wanted to ED somewhere because quite frankly, you have a higher chance of getting in. So I pretty much chose a top 10 school, and it was between these three. And I decided I like purple the best, so I went to Northwestern. And my parents were kind of cool with it, and also kind of not cool with it. Every time I talk to my parents, they tell me I should have applied to Princeton early, but that's okay, because I'm doing great. My parents should be happy, but yeah, I choose a school that you really like. I chose Northwestern. I think Northwestern is quite a good fail-safe school for those of you shooting for the Ivies, and Ivies are overrated anyways. But since Northwestern is, we're a very good school in very many categories. So I would say choose a school that you like. You don't have to think too far into it. Don't be pressured to throw in these obligatory apps towards these fantastic schools, because they will all offer you tons of opportunities and tons of good people will be there. So.
All right, so we don't have a ton of time left, so we're going to go to our very last question. What additional advice can you give to middle schoolers or early high schoolers who want to prepare for college admissions? This can be in regards to extracurriculars, academics, or standardized testing, anything in that area.
I mean, if you start doing something, like if you join like a club, orchestra, or like something outside of school, I mean, right now, you know, as a middle schooler or early high schooler, and you continue that all the way through, I mean, colleges are going to see that you are committed. And that's always like a green flag whenever someone's looking at your resume or college app or whatever, and they see that you've been there for multiple years. I think that's a really good sign. And so I would say that's the one recommendation I have for you guys right now. Yeah.
I would try to fit your extracurriculars and activities to fit a certain narrative so that it demonstrates a certain path you want to take. It's sort of weird to the college counselors when you have like activities that are all over the place and don't have a specific pathway that demonstrates that you want to take. For example, mine was computer science, and a lot of my other clubs were like politics, debate, and volunteering. So it didn't work out super well, but I shaped my essays to demonstrate that I wanted to do something in my future related to computer science and the public policy and things like that. Yeah, just be mindful of what extracurriculars you're choosing on doing, and also try to think about pursuing leadership positions earlier in your high school career.
Sam, Nikhil, and Eamon, do you guys have anything to add?
Sure. Standardized testing wise, I don't think anybody is gonna have a difficult time doing that, because I think where I'm from, and I think most of you guys fall into where I'm from, everyone and their mom had like a 34 plus. So I don't really worry about that. Get it in sophomore year, junior year, whatever, whenever you can. Don't chase perfect scores because it's threshold anyways, 1560 plus, and 34 plus will already put you in the top like 5% or what, or very high. And I would say try to get onto stuff as early as you can, because if they're looking at the dates on your resume and it's all starting junior year, they'll realize that you're really only doing it for apps. And I think I got lucky because COVID had started, and then I co-founded a nonprofit because we did have this extra time, which is surprisingly easy, by the way. I wouldn't advise to do it because it's pretty common now, but yeah, I would say definitely try to do stuff earlier. Listen to your parents when they say go volunteer. Join clubs if you can, and make friends and have fun, and you'll do great. So don't worry about it.
I wanted to add that if you're worried about standardized testing, that you do not need to pay for private tutors or books or anything like that. Like for me, all you need to do is go on the internet and look up like old tests, and it just take like two times a week, and then you'll be able to do well, like after summer or something like that. Like I got a 35 after just taking like 10 to 15 ACT tests. So you don't need to pay extra money for that.
Yeah, I second that as well. I think tutoring books and tutors are a waste of money. Absolutely. Khan Academy has free tests, and just do as much as you can. Analyze where like analysis is important for this. I would take the test, and then I took like she said, I took the SAT once and I got a 1580, but I had taken 10 or 11 probably practice tests before that. And every time my dad would like sit me down, have me take this test, take it in full, and then the next day, look at what you missed, analyze why, and then I would do a little bit of practice on Khan Academy. And I think if I still go back to my Khan Academy, I think I've answered pretty much all the questions that are in those test banks. And just realize that I know a lot of people take the test early and a lot of people take it a lot of times, but don't be disheartened if you don't do well, because this has nothing to do with your intelligence at all. And it's strictly how good you are at taking this test that doesn't help otherwise. And it's a very poor indicator of success in the long run. So learn to take the test, and then don't ever think about it again, because it's just a number. So
Yeah, no, I agree a lot with Grace and Sam, because like Sam just said, it's like it has literally nothing to do with what you learn in school. Like if you're good at science, that is not going to help you on the science portion of the ACT. It's literally like all about beating the test. I mean, like Grace and Sam said, I went on, Reddit to find old PDFs. I printed them out. I went on Crack ACT. They also have past tests or practice tests. Literally just go through them. You don't have to like start timing yourself. But once you get the hang of it, you're gonna start to notice patterns. It is a standardized test for a reason. And then just like start timing yourself once you feel comfortable. You're gonna notice that every test is literally like the exact same test, just like different words and different like prompts. And then, like just take multiple practice tests, and then that's what I did. And I also got a 35. So yeah, you guys don't need to stress.
Keel, Eamon, any parting words of advice?
Yeah, sure. I would say if you're like in middle school or early high school and you're already thinking about college, that's honestly great. And like everyone was saying, get into like things as early as you can, so you can like start getting prepared and ready for leadership positions. And I think the important thing is if you can start really early, that just gives you a lot of time to have like a broad field of things that you do freshman year, so you can really find what you like and narrow it down and really make that your pathway, as Grace was talking about.
All right, and finally, Nikhil.
Yeah, on the testing thing, I think you'll notice if you take enough tests, like there are just some basic patterns. So if you take like enough tests, it's pretty like straightforward to do well in them. But I guess the most important thing, kind of like going off of what Grace said, developing like that power of storytelling is really important. Because at the end of the day, like the admissions officers have to sell you to like the school that you're applying to. And it's much easier to sell someone who has a compelling story than someone who's just done a lot of like sparse activities, maybe does well in them, but there's nothing connecting them. So like, for example, one of the people I know at Penn who's in like Huntsman, which is one of the super selective like dual degree programs, literally wrote about like how their everyday experiences made them like a superhero. And it was like a really compelling like essay that was put together really well. It wasn't necessarily like super impressive things, but it was things that when an admissions officer read, they could get away that like, this is someone I would want to be around. This is a fun person, and it's like a unique story. So developing that power is also really important.
So those are all really, really great pieces of advice. And so thank you all for coming again. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all the panelists. Hopefully you learned something from them today. I'm gonna hand it over to B for our closing.
All right, before we conclude today's panel, we would first like to give a huge thank you to our panelists, Sam, Eamon, Sam Lee, Nikhil, and Grace, for sharing their own experiences and advice about the transition from high school to college. And above all, thank you to you all for attending this event. We really appreciate your support, and we hope to see you all at future APAPA events. Before you all leave, please take the time to fill out the post-panel survey sent out in the chat and in an email after the event concludes. It will be really useful to us in determining how we hold better events in the future. In addition, please also apply to the 2022 APAPA Ohio Summer Internship Program, the link to which will also be sent out in the chat and an email after the event is done.
And be sure to connect with us via our Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter accounts. It's just at APAPA Ohio, no spaces, no caps. And feel free to email me. I'll drop my email in the chat. If you would like to join APAPA or DM me, we would love to see you at one of our meetings, and follow us on Instagram or Facebook. We'll post updates there for when meetings are, and you can join us, and we do a lot of discussions like this, or we'll have community events coming up soon. All right, thank you again. Thank you guys for coming today, and have a good night. See y'all.
Thank you, Arvin, for your introduction of APAPA Columbus Youth Chapter. Now I'm going to take a minute to introduce the APAPA Columbus Internship Program. So the internship program is a very important part of APAPA Ohio, as it supports our mission to inspire, engage, and empower the API Americans. Internship program prepare the students to become future leaders by developing their political awareness and engaging them into civic engagement, and by educating them in government and legislative process, also cultivating their professional and leadership qualities. So APAPA Ohio was founded in the fall of 2017, and we started immediately in the summer of 2018 with our first ever internship. The second year, we carry out the tradition by sending more students to various government offices. In 2020, as COVID-19 hits, all the government offices were closed. We were still able to provide meaningful projects for the interns and work with them on election education, census outreach, and the documentation of community volunteerism in the fight against COVID-19. We were very happy in 2021 that finally the government offices were open and accepting interns. In 2022, we hope the same will continue. Currently, we are accepting applications, and it's going to be open until March 6th. If you have any question, write to us at internship.col@apaohio.org, or reach out to us on Facebook, WeChat, or any other social medias. So I'm going to share the application link in the chat. And once again, we want to thank you for your participation and for your financial support to APAPA Ohio. We look forward to have you volunteer with us. Next, I'm going to have our sponsor, Ms. Jane Chen, the founder of AIR Writing Center, to share a word or two. Thank you all.